Welcome everyone to Triple S Reviews. In this video we're going to point by point review Alien Earth Season 1 Episode 3. Fair warning, this video will contain spoilers. Now, let's begin. 1. Reading the text on the monitor Kirsch is looking at, we can learn a little more about the eyeball squid and the alien plants. On screen now is a more legible version of the text from the monitors, so feel free to pause and read what the Maginot science officer had to say about the two aliens. Done? Okay, let's carry on. 2.
They put us in grown-up bodies. We're not even all boys, we're half girls.
Well, unless your child minds are able to still develop in your synth brains, then you will end up being children forever mentally. And as for being called the Lost Boys despite the group being half girls...
But I guess it doesn't really matter.
3. Anyone else think this shot of Nibs goes hard as fuck? 4. Interesting thing I learned about the name Kirsch from the r/LV426 subreddit. His name might have been inspired by author M.A. Kirsch, who has written a series of books called The Scary Fairy Tales, which are horror retellings of various fairy tales, including Peter Pan, who is actually evil, taking children to Neverland to steal their souls, and Hook, who is actually good, and who wants to destroy Peter Pan to free the captured souls of Neverland. If Morrow is Hook, would that make Boy Cavalier Peter Pan? And will Morrow journey to Neverland to free the Lost Boys from Cavalier? 5. Boy Cavalier must actually know Wendy isn't with Kirsch. We see him watching her POV in the previous episode. I think Cavalier was just using this as an excuse to demean and talk down to Kirsch, possibly out of jealousy over Kirsch being a synth, better than a man, as Cavalier himself says. Kirsch probably also realises Cavalier already knew Wendy wasn't with him before he asked, and he's just doing this to try and humiliate him, but he's just biting his tongue and playing along to appease Cavalier. 6. Split diopter shot jump scare. Seriously, this felt so random and out of place. 7. What is with Hermit and the Xeno's weird attachment to him? Is he special in some way so that the Xeno would rather continuously incapacitate him rather than just kill him? In this instance though, could Hermit be right in that the Xeno set a trap with him as bait? Did the Xeno kidnap him in the hopes that both Wendy and Slightly would be lured away from the eggs? Doesn't explain though why it took its sweet time trying to kill him before, nor why it spared Morrow. This Xeno makes no goddamn sense. 8. Neat seeing the Xeno bite through its own tongue to escape and save itself from being crushed by the door. Reminds me of the Xenos in Alien Resurrection murdering one of their own so its acid blood would burn an escape hole in the floor. And also of Alien vs Predator with the Xenos biting into the Queen so her acid blood melts the chains holding her. 9. Hermit continues to be a badass, more so in fact, powering through getting stabbed by the Xeno's tail to close the door, then hotwire the door to get it to open again, then beg Wendy to stay with him whilst he himself was literally dying. Hermit really is such a Chad. 10. I find it interesting Kirsch makes the distinction between being Prodigy and working for Prodigy. Like, how much free will does he have in choosing whether to follow orders or not from Cavalier and the other humans at Prodigy? I also noticed how he uses singular pronouns when talking about who the Maginot now belongs to, saying,
"I'm the neighbor,"
and
"the ship belongs to me now,"
as if he's saying the ship is specifically his now, rather than using plural pronouns like "we're the neighbor" and "the ship belongs to us now," with the "we" and "us" referring to Prodigy. Could we see a potential betrayal of Prodigy from Kirsch, switching sides to Yutani or going rogue? 11. Oh, so now the eggs are ready to open, not when Hermit had his face right up to one last episode. Can anyone make sense of the Xeno's motivations when it comes to Hermit and Morrow and let me know? Please. 12. Is there any indication on who it might be inside this green body bag? I've looked through the previous episodes and just can't figure out who it could be. If any of you guys have an idea, let me know in the comments below. 13. An instrumental interlude in an Alien Earth episode?
A surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one.
Just as unexpected as the split diopter shot, but more fitting I feel. I liked it. 14. Myself and a lot of people on the r/LV426 subreddit have been wondering what's the deal with people just putting their faces right up to Xeno eggs. Is it pheromones, something telepathic, hypnotism, or is it just simple curiosity? Curiosity that ends up killing the cat, human. And could it tie in with what Kirsch told Wendy about humanity at the end of episode 1? Humans no longer see themselves as food, so they no longer feel the need to be cautious. Doubly so for Cavalier, who due to being rich as fuck, probably already feels untouchable and all-powerful like most rich people do. Myself and the subreddit aren't the only ones confused as Kirsch seems to be as well, looking at Cavalier like, what the hell are you doing, you weirdo? He also took his sweet time getting Cavalier away from the egg, which I find kinda suspicious. Maybe he allowed Cavalier to get close enough for the egg to open to scare Cavalier into only allowing synths access and putting him in charge. I mean, it does look like he has a small smile on his face afterwards. 15. Is this the first time we've seen a Xeno egg close again after opening, at least on screen? Makes sense, so the facehugger inside remains safe and the inside stay dry, like putting the lid back on a felt tip. Also, speaking of opening and closing, the proximity of these bunnies doesn't trigger the egg. If Kane's space helmet couldn't stop a facehugger, then the cage the bunnies are in wouldn't stand a chance either. And I for one would like to see what a Xeno based on a bunny would look and act like. Although I have seen Monty Python and the Holy Grail, so I could probably already guess how it would act.
Jesus Christ!
16. I don't believe Atom Ainz when he says they didn't catch what Morrow whispered to Slightly. I wouldn't call it whispering when Morrow said to Slightly twice,
What is a machine, not a machine?
so I can only assume Atom asked Slightly this to see if he'd either lie or tell the truth. For some reason. 17. I wonder what age Grandmother Yutani was when Morrow left on his mission. Because if she was pretty old, I like to imagine her being like Mom from Futurama. Only, you know, Asian. Also, I find it odd Morrow doesn't already know the granddaughter of the Yutani he knew is now running the company. Considering in episode 1 the crew of the Maginot were discussing Prodigy, which only became a thing 10 years ago, which means they somehow received news of a new company during their 65-year-long mission, but not that Weyland Yutani had a new leader? 18. Morrow mentions to Yutani that the Maginot was sabotaged, and earlier he told Smee and Slightly that the crew died due to the Xeno eggs hatching. So possibly the saboteur intentionally or unintentionally allowed a facehugger to escape. Like how Nedry accidentally allowed the dinosaurs to escape when he disabled the security systems in Jurassic Park. In any case, episode 5 of Alien Earth is called In Space No One... so possibly we'll see what happened on the Maginot in full in that episode. 19. Classic child trying to act and wanting to be treated like an adult trope here. Though, of course, Curly can't hide the fact she is a child completely, what with her pooping comment then trying not to laugh. Also, you know how Curly told Nibs that in the original Peter Pan book they would often call Curly Pickles? Due to him always getting into trouble, into a pickle, yeah, I think Curly trying to be Cavalier's favourite is going to get her into a pickle. And speaking of Curly wanting to be his favourite, if Cavalier is meant to represent Peter Pan, then maybe Curly should actually be named after Tinkerbell, who was jealous of Wendy getting all the Peter Pan's attention. 20. God damn it, Cavalier. Couldn't you have come up with a better word to use than play? Like, I know Curly is a child, but the way you say the word just comes across as weird and creepy. 21. The computer Morrow is using whilst talking to Slightly gives us some very important information for the series. First, that Cavalier has lost someone close to him, my guess being his parents, and maybe losing a family member played a part in his decision to allow Wendy to rescue her brother. Second, we're shown all the names of the companies that make up the Big Five: Prodigy, Weyland Yutani, Lynch, Threshold, and Dynamics. No Seegson from Alien Isolation in sight. And third, that there were a number of civil wars in South America. That's what Guerra Civil means. It's Spanish for civil wars. 22. Now we switch from a child being influenced by a person in a position of power that they trust, though probably shouldn't, to a child being influenced by a dangerous stranger that they definitely shouldn't trust. Though with Morrow, it is just straight up emotional and psychological manipulation. Poking at Slightly not liking being called a child, bringing up his dead daughter and whether or not she's actually real is anyone's guess. Being understanding when Slightly says he needs to go, then complimenting him on being so smart when he said everyone needs a friend, and showing vulnerability by asking if Slightly can be his friend and being polite by thanking him when Slightly says yes. Just textbook manipulation. And it doesn't help our perception of Morrow when he says,
Don't let the bedbugs bite.
reminding us of David at the end of Alien Covenant.
Don't let the bedbugs bite.
Just an Easter egg reference or a hint that we should look to David to figure out what to expect from Morrow going forward. 23. Damn, Nibs just seems on the brink of having a mental breakdown. She's been going through an existential crisis since episode 1, and being attacked by the Ocellas has just made it worse, to the point she's now poking at her own eyeball. Could she eventually come to reject her new immortal synth body and wanting to regain some level of being flesh and blood again? She actually allows the Ocellas to replace one of her eyes? I doubt though it will be able to take control of her unless somehow her synth brain is similar enough to that of a human brain to make that possible. 24. We get a third appearance of the hazmat suit guy spraying walls, and I've learned since the last video that he is in fact a mold scrubber. As per the video Designing the Earth of Alien Earth from IGN's YouTube channel,
those mold scrubbers characters that we brought in.
We also get to see that the guy inside the suit is Asian, and with his suit covering his entire body except for his face, he bears a resemblance to Hannibal Chew from Blade Runner, who wore clothing covering his entire body except for his face. And of course, there's the eye connection between Nibs and Chew, since in Blade Runner, he made the replicant's eyes. 25. So I guess xenoeggs don't have acid blood, and that Kirsch was using acid-proof tools to cut open the facehugger. And we get a new addition to the xenomorph life cycle, the tadpole, which appears to be swimming in black goo and has black goo inside of it. And yes, I know it looks like something else that also comes out of an appendage, but I'm just going to call it the tadpole, okay? Good. So the show's keeping in line with Ridley Scott's controversial prequels and with pre-sequel Romulus in regards to the black goo. The engineers and the crew of the Renaissance space station just harvested all of their black goo from facehuggers and tadpoles. 26. Is Wendy actually wandering into the lab and collapsing right behind Tootles, Curly and Kirsch without them hearing her at all? And even if they somehow didn't hear her, is seeing Kirsch putting the tadpole in the tank with Hermit's lung taking place after they turn around and see Wendy collapsed on the floor, even though the episode shows us Wendy on the floor after that event? Or could this all be just some psychic vision, hallucination, dream sequence that Wendy's receiving via the Xeno hive mind? In any case, at least when Wendy collapses, it gives us a good view of the Prodigy logo, which looks like an edgy version of Michael Darling's teddy bear from Peter Pan. Final thoughts. A more chill episode compared to episode 2, if you discount the opening Wendy vs Xeno scene. I imagine they had this scene to begin the episode because if episode 2 ended with the Xeno dead and Wendy and Hermit possibly dead, then had the third episode start with the team arriving back at Neverland, a lot of viewers might have checked out with the pace slowing significantly and nothing really exciting happening. Every episode of a show needs to have something that gets the blood pumping. That's just how it is these days. I, however, have never minded a show deciding to slow down and give us a chance to catch our breath in preparation for when it all eventually ramps back up again. The decision to include a split diopter shot felt artistically out of place, but the inclusion of the instrumental interlude I thoroughly enjoyed. As always, the adult actors of the Lost Boys did a great job at acting like kids. Smee and Slightly repeatedly calling each other bro, play fighting, freaking out over the insane stuff they'd seen, and not being able to keep their attention on one thing for very long is exactly how young boys would act. Then you have Curly being jealous at not being the favourite child, and Nibs suffering from a traumatic event which can actually resonate with anyone at any age. We got to see some more from the menacing Atom Eins this episode, and the sassy Kirsch continues to be a standout performance. While this episode felt very Lost Boys centric, I think it was Babu Cisse as Morrow who stole the episode. His monologue to Slightly and Smee to see if they would inadvertently agree with what he did on the Maginot, to possibly try and ease the guilt that he's feeling, and him contacting Slightly without his consent to them manipulating the poor kid, both are just such amazing scenes. To round all this off, my favourite part of the entire episode was getting more xenomorph lore with the introduction of the tadpole. That's what the facehugger is pumping down people's throats rather than just a whole load of black goo. I think it's a cool addition to the xenomorph life cycle and lore. Thank you everyone for watching Triple S Reviews. If you enjoyed the video, and I hope you did, give it a like to let me know, and if you want to see more then make sure to subscribe. I also have a variety channel where I post a variety of different videos. If any of them interest you, check them out. I've been Triple S, you've all been amazing, and I shall see you all in the next video.